What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. I have a very special guest, 17 years of experience in the NFL, former NFL head coach, over 30 years of experience just coaching in the college ranks combined in the NFL ranks as well. Hue Jackson, thank you so much for coming on today, sir. It truly is an honor to have you on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. It's an honor for me to be on as well.
Thank you very much. And let's get it started. You started off at the University of the Pacific. You were a quarterback there. What kind of drove you into getting into the game of football and coaching at the collegiate level?
Well, first it was playing, so you play and you start thinking, boy, you have enough talent to play in the football league. And then when you realize you're not as talented as some of the other players that are out there, you have to find what's going to be your niche, and I went back and forth about what I really wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to stay involved in sports. I knew it was something that I thought I was good at. And then some people really talked to me and said, hey, maybe you want to try this coaching opportunity. And so Bob Cope made me a quality control coach back at that time on both sides of the ball. And that's where it started for me.
Very cool. And a little fun fact, was John Gruden on that coaching staff when you began there in 1989?
Well, John Gruden was on the next coaching staff.
Okay.
Yeah. So Paul Harris came in. He replaced Bob Cope. And then me and John Gruden, we were office mates. He really taught me football. I give him a lot of credit for how my career has gone. And I'm very thankful for my time with him.
Very cool. And Hue, you spent a lot of time in the college ranks. You went to Cal State Fullerton, Arizona State, were the offensive coordinator at the University of Southern California. You switched over to the NFL ranks. Why did you make that move? Because, nowadays we see a lot of coaches like Dabo Swinney, for example. He's just staying at Clemson. Jimmy Johnson, he went to Miami, to the Dallas Cowboys. Nick Saban went back and forth. Why did you make that move to the NFL?
Well, for me, I wanted to challenge myself at the highest level. And I didn't think I had an opportunity to get a head coaching job from USC, Cal, Arizona State, or the places I'd been. So I thought, why not go take my talents to the National Football League and see if I could coach at that level. I knew I could. And then if I could do that, then my goal was to try to ascend that way.
Absolutely. And what are some differences between the college ranks to the NFL? I understand you have to recruit players, to the college, to your respective university, but in the NFL, you kind of have guys and then some go off to other teams. But what are some differences?
Well, I think you said it, college to pro. When you think of college, it's recruiting, it's rules, it's managing families on top of the players, dealing with girlfriends, uncles and aunties and all that. Not that some of that doesn't exist in the National Football League, but not to that extent because the players are being paid professionally. In the college ranks, they wasn't being paid. Some families had struggles, to try to make ends meet, and they saw their particular kid as the guy that was going to be the pipeline for their future. So that was tough. But at the same time, amateur sports versus professional sports, there's a huge difference.
Absolutely. And throughout your longevity coaching career, you spent a lot of times with a lot of different head coaches, Steve Spurrier, Bobby Petrino, John Harbaugh, like you said, John Gruden as well. Was there a specific coach that you really looked up to as a mentor that guided you through your coaching career, that gave you advice?
Absolutely. All of them did, be very honest with you. But when I think of John Robinson, Marty Schottenheimer,
wow.
John Harbaugh, Marvin Lewis, those people are pillars in my life. They taught me about what football really was and how it was meant to be played and how it was meant to be coached. And I really thank those men for their influence in my life.
Absolutely. Marty Schottenheimer, John Gruden, John Harbaugh, some of the best ever coached the game. Mm-hmm. That really is a blessing, that you got to spend time and just pick the brain and work with these individuals. I think that's very cool. You also, not only you spent a lot of time with a lot of great coaches, but a lot of great players as well. After you were a part of the Washington Redskins, you got the wide receivers coaching job with the Cincinnati Bengals. And in my opinion, you spent time with two of the best receivers to ever play together with the Cincinnati Bengals organization, TJ Hushmanzada and Chad Johnson. What was that like, to coach both of those guys and kind of tutor them into great players?
It was amazing. They were both very eager. Chad had somewhat established himself in the National Football League, and TJ was establishing himself, and so it was good to catch them at the right time. They were eager to learn, eager to grow, and their value just increased by leaps and bounds because of the things that we were able to do. But they did the work. There's no question. They did all the work. And I just created an environment for them to be great. And they were really, really great players.
What are some things you can tell kind of the average person that never in a million years would spend time with those two individuals that, we would never know about those guys?
I think the biggest thing that people don't get is that they're human just like anybody else, and that they have their struggles, they have their things that bother them just like everyday people. And so we created a room that was called the Bengals Room, and where we could talk about anything we wanted to. I don't care what it was. We could put it on the table. I always gave us 20 minutes, and then we cut it off at 20 minutes. But it allowed me to get closer to them. It allowed me to understand who they were as people, where they came from, the things they liked, the things they didn't like. And we were able to forge a relationship because of that.
Absolutely. Also, another unique situation. Carson Palmer, he was actually your quarterback when you were the OC down at University of Southern California, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Did that give an edge? Kind of, you knew, the quarterback at hand with Carson Palmer. You're the wide receivers coach. Do you think that kind of helped you out a lot as a coach, kind of expecting what kind of quarterback they're going to be working with?
Absolutely. Because not only did I coach Carson at SC, I recruited him. I recruited him there. And so recruiting him, being there with him at USC, talking to Marvin Lewis, who was a really good friend of mine, about who Carson was, and them drafting him first overall, and then me having an opportunity to go there and work. Boy, it gave me insight that other people didn't have. The quarterback coach didn't even have. Marvin didn't have, because I knew who Carson was. And so we were able to get a lot out of it.
Very cool. And, going from one great quarterback to another one, you spent time with the Baltimore Ravens under John Harbaugh, and you're the quarterback's coach for a rookie quarterback out of a very small school in Delaware. His name is Joe Flacco, ended up winning the Super Bowl against the 49ers. Kind of what did you do to tutor Joe Flacco, coming from a very small program, first-round pick, into the NFL world where all eyes are on him? He's the starting quarterback for an NFL franchise. That's a lot of pressure for any first-round quarterback, but specifically someone coming from a very small school.
Absolutely. I mean, I thought Joe handled it all extremely well. Joe is very talented. Obviously, could throw the football. Football IQ was off the charts as well. So what I try to do is create an environment for him to understand how to win in the National Football League. It wasn't going to be just about him. He was on a team with a lot of great players, from Ray Lewis to Terrell Suggs to Ed Reed, to Lodi Nada, and on offense, Derek Mason, Mark Clayton. We had a lot of good guys. And so he just needed to do his part. And his part was doing everything you can to manage the game. Don't turn the ball over, make the play there, to keep us in football games at that time, because we had some really, really good players. So he did that and did it extremely well and led us to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, no, I mean, great NFL career. If you can play 10 years or more in the NFL, I think you're a special player. Was there any, I know early on in his career, were there any flashes where you said, hey, I think Joe Flacco, he's going to be a veteran in this league? Or, was he just kind of, maybe he didn't have the best elite talent at first and he really developed over time into a great player?
No, Joe had elite talent because he had an elite arm, and he's a big man, and he was more athletic than people thought he was. I think what really helped Joe was that I'll never forget the first OTA practice we had. It was probably about the fifth practice we had. We were outside and we were going to throw a goal ball. And so I put Joe in that quarterback, and he hit Mark Clayton, and it really turned into a deep post down the field. And I'll never forget the defensive guys. And again, I'm talking about Trevor Price, Ray Lewis. These guys come up to me and go, that's our quarterback. Because they were so used to playing against Carson Palmer at the Bengals. He was this 6'5" guy with this big, powerful arm, and they were looking for this guy. And here he was now on their team. And so they were very excited about having Joe Flacco as their quarterback.
Very cool. No, that's a very cool story. That kind of just sums up, the future of Joe Flacco with the Ravens, man. And that's pretty cool. You get to share those stories, to other individuals because we're out of the loop. We're not into it, but just comparing, hey, with Carson Palmer to Joe Flacco, man, I think that's a very unique experience. And that's why Hue Jackson, like someone says, has some of the best knowledge, in the game of football, because of his resume. So it really is an honor to have you on, Coach Jackson. Your first two stints as offensive coordinator, you're with the Redskins under Spurrier and then Bobby Petrino with the Falcons. Did you learn anything from those two experiences that you passed on or maybe changed your offensive philosophy to the Oakland Raiders offensive coordinator position?
Oh, absolutely, because they were both different. For Steve Spurrier, I got an opportunity to call plays. He was a guy who never had anybody call plays for him. And so there was a couple games we played the Seattle Seahawks, which we won. I got an opportunity to call the game for him, and we played Carolina and also the New York Giants. And so that was a first. So I learned what really made his mind go. You try to find why is Steve Spurrier as good as he is, and because he saw the game at a whole different level than everybody else. And then when you go, to Atlanta, it was different because Bob Petrino was a primary play caller. I wasn't the play caller. And that's the thing that I think most people got to understand. Sometimes us as minorities, we get jobs as offensive coordinators not to call plays. We get them to take care of the locker room.
Right.
And I wanted to get out of that mode. I didn't want to be that guy because then my value is not the same as the other coaches in the league calling plays. And so for the first time that I had that opportunity is in Oakland. After leaving Baltimore and going to Oakland in 2011. And so I was able to take all those experiences and put them together and take an offense at the time that was 31st and go to 6th. And to me, that was great, and then the next year becoming a head coach and then still taking those same things, getting Carson Palmer off the couch to come play for us and still finish 10th in offense, and so it was a great time. And so you learn so much being in different situations that you can't help but grow.
Speaking about, offensive philosophy with a former offensive coordinator in the league, 3 different NFL franchises, I think no one else is better to ask this question to. There's kind of an argument now that the dual threat quarterback is the future of the NFL. You have to be mobile in some aspect, and the true pocket passer, we're kind of moving away from the modern game of football. Do you believe that is true?
I don't think it's totally true. I think that's what we're starting to see. Tom Brady is still the GOAT, and he doesn't run very well.
Right.
He beats you with anticipation, football IQ, and the ability to outthink you. And so there's still a place for that particular player. Now, do the dual threat quarterback give you a chance to scare the defense a little bit more? Absolutely. But I don't want a guy who's a dual threat that all he can do is either throw or run. Because then all of a sudden the other team, the defenses are too good. They will take that away from you. So I think what's important is you find the best quarterback that fits your football team that's going to give you a chance to win, because all talent doesn't fit everywhere. And I think people have to understand that. You can't just put talent on a team and say, okay, here we go. We got it all. We're going to win. It doesn't work that way. It has to be a team, a football team. That's how you win games in the National Football League.
Speaking of quarterbacks, like you said, you got to run the right offense, the right personnel to match the quarterback. We're seeing a lot in college football, a lot of up-tempo spread offense. Do you see that transitioning to the NFL game instead of going away from the pro style, traditional offense?
Yes, because it allows those quarterbacks who are really, really good to come in. When you think of Joe Burrow, you watch what is the signature offensive formation for the Bengals right now? Empty. So he can see it all. So that's what he did in college. So they were able to bring that forward here into the National Football League to give him a chance to play at a high level, for him to get personal wins. That's the whole thing people got to understand. These young quarterbacks, they become really, really good when they start getting their personal wins. When they're throwing touchdowns and throwing for yards, they feel really good about what they're doing, and they continue to grow. The guys who get stymied are the guys that all of a sudden don't have great protection. They don't have decent stats. They get hit a lot. They look confused. They're doing something totally different than what they've ever done, because now all of a sudden we've taken this very talented player and put him in a system that might not fit him. That's why I keep saying talent doesn't fit everywhere. I've seen more quarterbacks damaged that way than there are guys that be put in situations that have success. I mean, it's just what has happened.
I want to pick your brain with this question, Hugh. Was there ever a quarterback or maybe a player that you saw that just wasn't in the right personnel, maybe the right offense, and just because of that, his career just didn't get off in the right foot, and then maybe he developed later, or just maybe, man, if he would have played in this specific offense, I think he would have had a nice, great career.
Well, I want to take a guy who I think everybody would understand right now was a kid that's at the Titans. When he was at Miami, everybody thought he couldn't. I mean, everybody's going, "Oh my gosh, he can't play. What's going on here?" He gets let go. He ends up at Tennessee. He gets this big old contract and playing lights out. That to me is what I'm talking about. There's proof in that, because when he was in Miami, they were doing something totally different. He ends up going over here to the Tennessee Titans, and they're showcasing his talent and ability and giving him a chance to be special, and that's what he's doing.
Hugh, after your time as an offensive coordinator with the Oakland Raiders, you became the head coach for the Oakland Raiders, then the Cleveland Browns. What goes into kind of, this? What's a standard schedule up to an NFL Sunday game? If you can just break it down, maybe like Monday to Friday, and then Saturdays maybe just kind of like the rest day, get ready for the game. What really goes into the preparation for an NFL Sunday game?
It's a big week, and there is no downtime. Your mind never shuts off, especially as the head coach or the coordinator, because you want to make sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. So Monday you come in and you just played a game, so you need to get that game behind you. You need to grade, review, make adjustments off of the game you played, understand what your tendencies are, understand how the other team is maybe going to see you as you start to put together this plan for the next team. So the players all come in on Monday. We kind of flush the game that we played. Tuesday, we start our process of getting ready for the next team we're going to play. Players will trickle in because they want to get excited about what is the game plan going to look like, what potentially could it be. And the guys who are the great players, they're there on Tuesday, which is the players' off day, and they're studying. They're trying to find out as many little nuggets as they can about the team that they may be facing. So Tuesday, we start our plan. We start, whether it's through what do we call it? Print. You know how you send things to people? What is that? I can't understand why I'm stuck on this. I got a printer. You start stuff in a printer to your quarterbacks and the offensive players, so they have an idea when they walk in what it is that we're going to try to execute. So when they walk in on Wednesday, that is the big day. That is the big day. And so in order for them to get some more reps, that's getting that information overnight, whether it's through iPad, print, material, whatever that is. So now you're starting to install the game plan on Wednesday. You have a walkthrough to walk through the things you installed. You come back in, they have lunch, you go back out, and you practice now the things that you installed, and so that process starts Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those are big work days for players because we have to put in all these different situational things that are going to come up in the game. And so by Friday, you're kind of starting to wind down, have a good feel about what are the things in the game plan that you feel really good about. You start to find out what are the things that the players feel really good about. And then on Saturday, it's more of a mental preparation day because either you're home or you're traveling. So, there's a lot of tests that go into it. There's still meetings. There's still a form of practice where you might practice the openers and get a feel for how you're going to start the game offensively, defensively, and special teams. And then either you're in a hotel that night with another meeting to put the finishing touches on that game plan. Because that game plan is all put together to do one thing, win the football game. And then obviously you go play the game on Sunday morning. But most players and coaches don't sleep a lot on Saturday night.
Really?
They itching to play the game, and you really play the game in your mind before you ever go out there on the field. So, and the great ones, they can see the game at a different level than others.
Interesting.
They just do because they have the mental capacity to anticipate what can happen before it happens. And so they're prepared for it.
And speaking of, getting ready and preparing for a Sunday football game, Monday night football game, who was the toughest coach that you ever faced as a head coach that you just knew was going to put up a fight throughout 4 quarters, no matter what? He was going to give you his A+ game.
It was Rex Ryan.
Rex, wow, okay.
Yeah, it's because his defense was so unorthodox. It was different than what you're used to facing week in and week out. They played what's called bear defense, 46, however people want to call it, and they played it extremely well. And he had a lot of different blitzes and things that cause you to adjust. And if you didn't handle them right, your quarterback's going to get hit. So that was the guy that caused the most sleepless nights for us as coaches, getting prepared for his defense.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of great things from former players who played for Rex Ryan as well. Have the utmost respect for Rex Ryan. Definitely a great NFL coach, and so was his father as well.
Absolutely.
Who's the most talented player you've ever had to coach, Hue?
The most talented player I ever had to coach? I'm always going to say Chad. He was just that talented. Chad was different. As you see him now, he can still run. He still looks like he can play today. A lot of people would say, and I never got a chance to coach him in a game, was Michael Vick.
Oh, wow.
Very, very talented.
Yep.
He off the rails talented that way. And probably the guy that I enjoyed working with, which I've enjoyed working with every player I've ever coached. But the guy that I always felt that I got the most out of, that everybody thought was very talented, that wasn't playing that way until I got there, was Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden was a beast. When he got hurt in 2011, he was averaging 6.1 yards a carry. And I didn't think there was anybody better than him in the National Football League at that time.
Hue, in other sports, the international level, for baseball, a lot of players from the Dominican Republic, they're very talented. Eastern Europeans are considered good shooters. In football, there's South Florida athletes are considered one of the most talented in the nation. People say you go to Southern California to get your quarterback. Who do you think has the most talent? What region of the country?
I'm always going to say California. I'm a Californian.
Right.
I'm from California, and the sun, you get a chance to train at a whole different level. I'm not saying that you don't in Florida. I understand that. But the teaching of the coaches and all the different, I want to say, opportunities that these players have to go get better. They're to me, they're a little bit stronger. And a lot of players, they migrate to California to train. And so these players are around these players. I can tell you that TJ Houshmandzadeh, Jordan Palmer, Jordan Palmer probably has some of the best quarterbacks in the league that he represents, that he takes care of. TJ Houshmandzadeh takes care of some of the best receivers that are playing in the National Football League today. So I'm always going to be very partial to California.
Speaking of, South Florida athletes, someone actually told me, this was like a few years ago, when the University of Miami head coaching job opened up, that said Hue Jackson he's very interested. He really wants this job. Can you confirm if there was mutual interest, and if you were interested, why the University of Miami head coaching job?
I was very interested, and I don't know if there was mutual interest or not. The reason why I was interested is, and still would be today, is that to me that program should be one of the elite programs in all of college football. When I think of the players who have come through the U and play, I've been around them and I know what kind of men they are. And that means that university can attract those kind of players. There's 2 schools that are always near and dear to my heart. One is USC, because I coach there, and I know what they should be, in my opinion, and the U, because there's so much talent, and if you do the right job of recruiting and coaching and you have the right support system, I don't see why you can't, year in and year out, be challenging for the national championship.
Absolutely. University of Southern California and Miami, some of the greats regarding NFL talent.
Absolutely.
We can go on for days talking about all the great running backs that went to both programs. And
yes.
I just get exciting talking about it. It's funny you mentioned that, because I've always been a diehard Miami Hurricanes fan, but as a kid, I was born in 1994. Pete Carroll takes over in 01, I believe, and that's when they had the Matt Liner, Lindell White, Reggie Bush. I had like a crush on Reggie Bush. He wore that number 5 in such a way, man.
Yes.
Probably one of the greatest running backs of all time. So I definitely get what you're saying, man, with that University of Southern California analogy with the Miami Hurricanes. It's the cream of the crop, no doubt about it. Um, Hue, you've had a Hall of Fame career in the NFL.
Last Heisman Trophy quarterback I recruited to USC.
Who was that? Sorry.
Matt Leinart.
Matt Leinart. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Carson was 1, and Matt Leinart was 2.
Really? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. How do you evaluate kind of a high school quarterback, and how do you know what kind of metrics do you use to evaluate him? Hey, he's a starting quarterback at this level as a recruiter.
I think what happens when you're recruiting a high school player, it becomes talent first, right? It becomes arm talent, the ability to deliver the ball all over the field, the ability to start to show leadership. Not that they have to be great leaders, but they start to show the ability to lead others. And then in pressure situations, because there becomes pressure situations in high school too. The third down, scoring zone, all these particular things, you start to see a guy separate himself from other players. And so the greatest quarterback I've ever recruited to this day is Carson Palmer. There's nobody that was as big, physical, strong, and the most beautiful thrower I've ever been around. He was compact. He can whip a ball all over the field and play it at a very high level. So that was really fun. And so you take that experience and then you start to watch all these other guys. And, one size doesn't fit all. There's all kind of ways to judge these guys. And that's why I say, I think what's most important is what is it that you need to win? What is it that your program needs to win, because you're recruiting all these other players? How do they fit with your vision, as you recruit quarterbacks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, Carson Palmer, one of the best quarterbacks in the past 20 years, hands down. Matt Leinart, hell of a college career. So you really are. I mean, and you even coached Joe Flacco as well. So you do a very good job at identifying and developing quarterbacks, Coach Jackson. That's why, your resume speaks for itself. Over 30 years of coaching in the game of football, 17 years in the NFL. I mean, that's a Hall of Fame resume in my books.
Thank you.
Hue, what's life after football? What's going on? Do you have any business ventures? I know ESPN stated you have a new book with the Cleveland Browns coming out. They is stated to be potentially a bestseller.
Oh, it's going to be. That's a different conversation another time. I think what I like to talk about is I am involved in a tequila brand, Grand Leyenda Tequila. It's organic, 100% USDA. And I know everybody on here drinks Don Julio and Casamigos and all that. Grand Leyenda is the one because it's organic. We add nothing to our tequila. We think it's the best in the world. We'll compete with anybody. And I'm going to get back to football. I've taken a couple years off of this thing, trying to, remove myself from the Cleveland situation. And now it's time to get back to doing what I do, which is coaching football and leading men.
Would you like to get back in the NFL ranks or college?
I just like to coach. It could be college
coach in general.
And the National Football League gives us the right opportunity. This is about winding down your career the right way. I want to win and walk out of this thing the right way, feeling good, with my head held high, knowing that, boy, I did it with some of the best in the world.
Love it. Go check out Hue Jackson's new tequila. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go try out a bottle. Go get one for myself. I'm not a big tequila guy, but I'll check it out for you, man. More of a rum guy. All right. I'll go check it out. I'll give it a shot. I know The Rock just came out with his own tequila as well. So
let's compete.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go.
I love it, man. Hue, thank you so much for coming on, man. You're a class act and hell of a job, man. You have a fine coaching career, and best of luck to your tequila company, your new book coming out. I know it. You're going to kill it out there. So thank you, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Anytime. All right, Coach Jackson. Take care, sir. Everyone, Hue Jackson, 30 years, man, coaching the game of football. Tremendous job. If you haven't subscribed yet, go to the Coaches Tribute podcast. Check them out, man. They do a tremendous job. They're like the Players Tribune, but the coaches version. They're the ones that deserve full credit for this interview I landed with Hue Jackson. So go check them out. Hit subscribe. The Coaches Tribute podcast. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day. And I hope you guys took some notes of this Hue Jackson interview. I think you guys would like the University of Miami question that was asked. Hope everyone has a blessed day.